Good morning, survivors. It's Angie. Happy Tuesday. Before I get started today, I want to remind you that I'll be live today at 1 p.m. my time, which is Central Time, for Talk to Me Tuesday. So if you want to speak to me live, I'll be live on YouTube at that time, so watch out for that, okay? All right, now today we're going to talk about why it takes so long to get over a narcissist and a few things you can do to make the process a little easier. All right, so let's get started.
My name is Angie Atkinson, and this channel is all about teaching you what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want.
I don't know about you, but when Jerry McGuire said to his love that you complete me, I was like totally in love with that dude. But it turns out he's full of crap, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Most survivors will tell you that it's very difficult to get through a relationship with a narcissist when it's, well, through the ending of the relationship. And that's because, whether it was, a 20-year marriage or it was a 6-week fling, we still, find the recovery process the same. And a lot of people don't understand why that is. I've got clients who are literally, recovering from 30-year marriages to narcissists. And I've got clients who are recovering from, short periods of dating with a narcissist and everything in between. So I think the important thing that we need to remember is that, in general, we have to stop blaming ourselves for the way that things ended, because a lot of us spend way too much time stressing about, well, maybe I could have done better. Maybe I could have done something different. Maybe if I had just tolerated this or put up with that, it would have been okay. Maybe if I let him or her cheat on me. Maybe if I let him or her ignore me or treat me like crap longer, And none of those things are good things to think, because the truth is, thank goodness you're out of there if you're out of there. And if you're not out of there, you're probably wishing you were, right? Well, anyway, so unfortunately, that means that regardless of the length of the relationship, you will find yourself, I'm just going to put it out there. It's going to take you at least a year, maybe 2 years or longer, to recover from this situation because of the depth and the pervasiveness of the abuse. So, we have to stop blaming ourselves. We have to stop wishing it would go faster. We have to stop assuming that because we're in pain, the narcissist has won. The fact is that if you're still hurting and the person's out of the picture, the best thing we can do is stop focusing on the person and what happened and start to focus on healing ourselves. All right. So we're going to talk about that a little more. The thing I think a lot of people don't think about is the fact that going through a relationship with a narcissist and having them end the relationship, or you having to end the relationship in order to keep yourself safe, puts you in a difficult place, because it's literally almost like someone dies. This is the case if it is someone who is your family member or your spouse or your partner or whatever. Going through that kind of pain and grief, it feels a lot like death. It feels like someone died. And they say that going through divorce is almost more difficult for you psychologically than when someone actually does die. Separation from a narcissist becomes painful because of the level of codependency that has developed in those relationships. And, when you separate from someone that you had a normal relationship with, that's hard enough. But when you separate from someone from a toxic relationship, you're both almost addicted to each other a little bit, up to a point, especially, for the longer situations. But even in the shorter situations, because narcissists are so good at very quickly ingratiating themselves and getting into your life and putting their fingers on every single aspect of it. And so it becomes almost impossible to forget them on purpose, if that makes sense. A lot of my clients tell me that even though they feel, a lot of disdain or dislike or almost hate for their narcissist, when it's over, there's a part of them that would still gladly take that person back. And that is what scares me sometimes. I worry about my clients when they know better and they still kind of want to fall back into it. You have to understand, a lot of us spend our lives waiting for the right person, the other half of ourselves, our soulmate. And then when we find someone who we think fits the bill, we try really hard to make it work. And because we want that other half and that soulmate. But here's the big secret. Jerry McGuire was full of shit. Nobody can complete anyone. You can only be complete yourself. And when you find yourself complete, then you can take one step toward, being happy. If you can be a whole person yourself, and then you find someone who's worthy of sharing your life with, then you're not going to be two halves of the same whole. You're going to be two whole people next to each other, being happy, being equal, being in love, not being subservient to one another, or being, one person being more important than the other in the relationship. You see what I'm saying? So you're like, great, so why does this take so long to get over a narcissist? Well, the first thing is that you were probably in love with that person. Now, if this is a person who's a family member like your mother or your father, maybe you weren't in the same kind of love, but you have love for that person. Certainly, in the case of a romantic relationship, it is a manufactured type of love. But regardless of that, your personality has been mirrored by this person. Your dreams have been manipulated by this person, and depending on the length of time that you were with that person, you may have been with them longer than you've been an adult, or for most of your adult life. And when that happens, it changes you. Someone that you plan to be with for the rest of your life has just devastated you once again, and now, here you are, stressing, unhappy, miserable, wishing that things could go back to the way they were. But if you really ask yourself, what did I really love about that person? How did that person positively affect my life? What's the answer? If you're really honest with yourself and you think about the last time you spent time together, what's the answer? What's the answer? What is the thing that you absolutely loved about that person? Was it really who they were, or was it who you thought they were? Of course, regardless of the fact that you were abused and whatever their intentions really were, it doesn't matter, because in your heart you felt love, okay? And this is where I think, in my opinion, narcissists tend to... Breaking up with a narcissist is different, or divorcing a narcissist is different than a regular person, a non-narcissist, because narcissists want you to be desperate for them. They want you to just be so madly in love, desperately holding on, because it makes them feel worthy and valuable. Even if they don't want you at that moment, they want you to want them, see? And so you put more time and more energy and more thought into a relationship with a narcissist because they're so demanding of you in various ways. So in the idealization phase, you got all these gifts, you were wonderful and amazing, compliments, everything was perfect. And unlike most normal relationships, the honeymoon phase, as it were, was different, because a narcissist will pretend to be exactly like you. And they will pretend to be perfect, and they will pretend that they think you are perfect. But of course, as time goes on, here you are, you're up, oh, everything's wonderful and amazing. Well, all this really does is it conditions you and gets you ready to be officially brainwashed, or whatever you want to call it, turned into the person that they want you to be. So you start to pick up on the hints that, slowly they put things, hints that maybe they'll replace you, or they'll encourage your negative thoughts in subtle ways. And they make sure that they're on your mind every second of the day by doing this, you see? And this ensures that you're focused on them, which is exactly what they want. They make you feel unhinged. They are unpredictable. They are, incredibly difficult. They gaslight you. They triangulate you with other people in their lives. And by keeping you in a state of constant stress and keeping themselves on your mind at all times, they make sure that you can't leave them. You feel desperate for them, even when you're still in the relationship, because they make sure that they keep you focused on what they want, and that is your full and complete attention, and it has to be all about them. Then there's the chemical reaction. Psychopaths and narcissists and sociopaths, they are very good at developing this chemical bond with us. There's this intense sexual bond, and we've talked about that. Just yesterday I talked about the sex thing, and we're going to have more on that this week as well. But because of not all narcissists, but many narcissists have a great deal of sexual magnetism that makes us feel very connected to them. And because they initially adored us and made us feel amazing, and then they sort of started taking back their adoration, so to speak. It's like they're giving us a little drug, getting us addicted, and then taking it away from us. And so we spend the rest of our relationship trying to reclaim the beginning of the relationship, which we believe to be the truth of the relationship, but which was actually, unfortunately, love bombing and not actually what was happening. And so because we believed that the person was who they claimed that they were, and then we suddenly realized they weren't, we're devastated, we're desperate, we want that person back. And I think this is why it's so difficult to get through it. And then, of course, they throw the triangulation and the smear campaigns and the gaslighting. We're devastated before we know it. So that, I think, is why it's so hard to get over a narcissist. And I think that, as we move forward, if we can begin to first understand the situation, obviously you've already discovered it. You're here listening to this video right now. You've discovered that you're dealing with a narcissist. Okay. And now that you've discovered that, you're working on understanding it. And once you do understand it, then you start focusing on overcoming it and on doing what you need to do to become whole and happy again. The deal is you can't be half of something. You have to be a whole self before you can really ever be in a healthy relationship. So give yourself time. If you've just split up with a narcissist, when I left my ex-husband, I gave myself a full year almost. I think it was a full year because I decided that I wasn't going to date anyone until I was legally divorced, even though we weren't together. Not for the sake of being faithful, but for the sake of simply healing myself. And so I suggest to most of my clients, depending on your situation, if you guys were together for 20, 30 years, give yourself a year. If you were together 5 or 10 years and you need it, give yourself a year. If you were together a few years but you didn't live together and you think you're going to be okay, maybe less than maybe 6 months. But give yourself time to heal and to be okay before you move forward. In whatever time that feels right to you. All right. Okay. I'm going to wrap up for today. I've got to get Sophie to school and do all the things. I'll be here today at 1 p.m. Central Time. Don't forget to do a live session, Q&A. If you have questions, comments, things you want to talk about, I'll be there. Also, I'll be back later today with one more video, and I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks as always for being a part of my day and a part of my life, and thanks for letting me be a part of yours.
It's my mission to teach others what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want. Take care of your body, take care of your soul, nurture the real you, and introduce him or her to the world. Be comfortable in your own skin and in your place in this world. Take your spot, take it now, and the universe will take its cue from you. You feel me? If so, subscribe to my channel. Let's get it done together.